Right before arriving in Vietnam, I spent a weekend in Hong Kong, stayed at the Peninsula Hotel. I came to Asia before it was filled with any tall buildings. Now, wherever you go, there's skyscrapers every place. None of that existed in 1968. Asia still looked like it did, for the most part, at the end of World War II and colonial period. I remember sitting on the veranda at the Peninsula Hotel, looking out over Hong Kong Bay, watching the Star Ferry traverse between Kowloon and Hong Kong Island. And then to the airport, on the plane, flying into Vietnam. And the first sign that things might be different was that the airliner, when it got there, instead of making a gradual, slow descent to land, which is the common experience, to avoid anti-aircraft fire, commercial airliners would come and then sort of corkscrew down in tight circles to eventually land. As we got off the plane and loaded on a bus, headed into downtown Saigon to the Excelsior Hotel, where I stayed in room 428 for our initial orientation and assignment. And my gun arrived. I had it out, and one of my friends, Al Adams, who was in our class, and he was going north to the northern part of South Vietnam, and I had heard stories about how dangerous it was, and he didn't have a gun. And I went over to see him the night before he was going to leave. He was going up just for a short weekend to look it over, see if he wanted to stay there. And I handed my gun to him, and I said, "You're going to need this more than me, and you take it and stay safe." Well, Al made it back. He didn't have to fire the gun, but it forged a bond between us that would last all through our careers and would come back in the future as we did things together, and that would impact on my career. And so after this orientation in Saigon, I received orders that I was going to be a rural development advisor. Now, I wasn't going to get to stay in Saigon. I wasn't going to be in a regional capital. I wasn't going to be in a provincial capital. I was going to be assigned at what was called a district level, the lowest level of American advisory efforts in Sa Dec Province on the Mekong River in the Mekong Delta, the southern part of South Vietnam. And so I flew on Air America, old DC-3 planes, two-engine planes that were relics from World War II, landed at Can Tho, the regional capital, and from there, on a single-engine plane, flew me up to Sa Dec. We landed on a gravel road. The plane pulled off to the side into a little parking area. They didn't even shut off the engine. They just opened the door, told me to get out, threw my bag out after me, and said, "We'll be back in 18 months to get you if you're still alive." And I knew then I would be going on to my regular diplomatic career. So if I survived, kept my head down, did my job in Vietnam, then I would be on my way back to fulfilling that dream, though working in those salons in Europe, going to those diplomatic receptions, and doing what I thought a real diplomat did. Little did I know what was going to happen that would, in fact, change the whole course of my life during my assignment in Sa Dec Province.